Hello everyone, this is Lita from Lita's English. If this channel is known to you, then you know this channel is for learning English. And in this video, you will going to expand on your grammar and you will learn how to actually use some useful auxiliary verb with subject. Of course, maintaining tense. So, as a beginner, it's very important and there is no alternative except learn this grammar. So, dear learner, please try to remember these auxiliary verbs, how to use with a subject. And if you enjoy these videos, if you learn something from this video, please don't forget to like it and please subscribe our channel. Well, now let's get started to know how the auxiliary verbs actually followed by some subject. Well, suppose our first subject is I and it's of course a singular subject, and if we want to say something in present tense, in that case with I you can use am. And if you want to say about past, in that case you can use was. You can use at the same time will, shall, have, had, and of course modal auxiliary verb with I. But if your subject is he or she, then the scenario is quite different. In that case, for he or she you can use there, after he or she you can use is or was. Also, you can use will or shall. At the same time, you can use had. But here you have to remember one most important thing. He or she is a singular form, singular subject. In that case, you have to use has after he or she. You can use here modal auxiliary verb, and at the same time if you use some main verb, in that case remember one most important thing, that after singular third person singular number you have to use s or es after main verb. And of course you can use the past form of a verb. So next subject is, suppose is they. In that case you have to use are or were. At the same time you can use their have, had. As they is a plural form, in that case you have to use have. You can use had to say, to mean past form. At the same time for future tense you can use will or shall. And another important thing, that you can with they you can use modal auxiliary like can, could, shall, should, will, would. All the things you can use this. And suppose your subject is you, in that case you have to use there are. For present tense or past tense you can use here were, and for future tense you can use will or shall at the same time. Next you have to use have or had. You can't use here has, as after you. At the same time you can use modal auxiliary verb. As I said earlier, that can, could, will, would, shall, should, able to, used to. Like this way you can use this modal auxiliary verbs actually after this subject you. Now suppose your subject is we. Now what to do? Well, if our subject is we, in that case we can use here are for present tense, and for past tense you can use here were. And for future tense, yes, you are absolutely right that you can use here will or shall. Well, you can at the same time use here past perfect tense and present perfect tense. You can use here have and had. But remember, you can't use here has, because we is a plural form. So if there is a plural form, in that case you cannot use here has. But if your subject is third person singular number, in that case you can use here has. Well, at the same time you can use all the modal auxiliaries after this subject we. Well, now suppose your subject is it. Yes, you are absolutely right that this it is actually means third person singular number. In that case, for present tense, you can use here is, and if you are talking about past tense, in that case, you can use here was, and for future tense, as usual, you can use here will or shall. Well, another important thing, remember, as I said earlier, that is a third person singular number. In that case, you have to use here has for past perfect, and if you want to say something about present perfect tense, you can use here has. But if you are talking about past tense, in that case you have to use here had. Well, at the same time, you will liberal here to use the modal auxiliaries like can, could. Well, this is how actually you can use these auxiliary verbs after subject. Now suppose there is no pronoun verb, there is a noun. In that case, you can remember one thing, that proper noun, if you are talking about singular form, in that case you can use here is for present tense, and of course when you are talking about past tense, in that case you can use here was, shall, will for future, and of course you have to use has or had for past tense. You have to use here has because we are talking about third person singular number. Well, you can use here can, could, shall, should, as they are modal auxiliary. So this is how you can use these auxiliary verbs after subject. So please, as a beginner, remember this important thing and try to use them, that which will help you to speak in English. So that's all for today. See you later.